In today's lesson, I want us to check the concept of functions. Okay, you've been doing functions from your previous grades. You know different types of functions. You know different types of graphs. Okay, but the big question today is that what exactly is a function? Okay, we know that when we are dealing with graphs, we will be dealing with a Cartesian plane. We will be working on a Cartesian plane, whereby the Cartesian plane has the x-axis and the y-axis plane. Okay, so what exactly is a function? Okay, so in mathematics, when we say something is a function, we'll be talking about the relationship between the x and the y values, where for every one x value, there is only one y value. Okay, so the ratio is 1:1. So one x value should correspond with one y value. Okay, so one way to decide whether or not a graph represents a function is to use what we call a vertical line test. Okay, so let's say we're given three different graphs here. Let's say we're given three different graphs. These are our x-axis and the y-axis. Okay, so the first function or the first graph goes like this. Okay, and then the second function, it's like this, and then the third function, it's given like this. Okay, so we want to check whether graph A, graph B, and graph C are functions or not. Okay, so we said we are going to use a vertical line test to check whether a graph represents a function or not. Okay, so how does this vertical line test work? Okay, so if a line is drawn parallel to the y-axis, and that line cuts the graph only once, then the graph represents a function. But if that line cuts the graph more than once, then that graph is not a function. Okay, so now we draw our vertical line which is parallel to the y-axis. Okay, and see how many times does it cut the graph. You see, so this is our vertical line, and we can see that it only touches the graph once. So if this vertical line test touches the graph once, it means this graph A, is a function, because this vertical line test touches the graph only once. Okay, then we move to the second graph B. So we draw again a vertical line test, okay, parallel to the y-axis, and see how many times it touches the graph. Then we notice that this touches the graph only once. Okay, so it means also graph B is also a what? Is also a function, because our vertical line test also touches the graph once. Okay, so when we go to graph C and then we draw a vertical line test, okay, a line parallel to the y-axis, and check how many times does the line touches the graph. And then in this instance, we see that it touches the graph once here and then twice here. See, so it touches the graph 2 times. So if a vertical line test or a line drawn parallel to the y-axis cuts the graph more than once, then it means that graph is not a function. So it means graph C is not is not a function. Why? Because the vertical line test touches the graph more than once. So we know that a function is a graph whereby the vertical line test touches the graph once. Okay, I hope this explanation makes sense. Okay, so now we know what exactly is a function. Okay, so now we can start dealing with our different types of functions.